From being unable to headbutt and punch each other in the groins, to going through mandatory pre- and post-fight drug test screenings, here are some UFC rules fighters must abide by in the octagon. I want to start by stating the obvious. The rules are in place to prevent people from getting seriously injured. When it comes to MMA, it's a no-holds-barred battle. Well, almost. The unified rules of MMA has a list of 31 fouls that fighters must avoid like the plague. In UFC events, headbutting's a hard no. Not only can it hurt the opponent very badly and lead to a loss of points, but it can also lead to either a disqualification from the fight, a suspension, a warning, a medical suspension, or even a fine. In 2022, Jack Grady was disqualified at BKFC 32 for headbutting his opponent, not once, but twice, in the second round of his bout against Ryan Reber. Because it's not just a simple headbutt that gets a fighter into trouble. Stuff like eye gouging, biting, and pulling hair are all illegal moves that involve headbutts. So these moves aren't allowed in the UFC either. Not just that, it's also against the rules to hit someone in the back of the head or in the neck. Because bones are so sensitive, this type of attack can cause serious damage. This one's a pretty heavily enforced rule, because fighters can lose points or even get kicked out of fights if they do this. In 2020, Amadeus Roslik was almost about to win at a Fame MMA 7 event until he messed up and hit his opponent with a soccer kick to the head. Yikes. And it goes without saying that groin punches aren't allowed either. Like, come on, that's straight up dangerous. If there are too many moves that are against the rules, the fight can be stopped. But wait, there's more. In the UFC, it's also against the rules to strike down with the point of the elbow. During a fight, this move should be avoided at all costs because it can hurt or kill the other person. You also can't kick or knee an opponent in the head while they're on the ground. This kind of move can injure badly and get you kicked out of a fight. Petr Yan was disqualified when he landed an illegal knee on Aljamain Sterling in their first encounter at UFC 259. During the UFC 273 countdown, he quickly regretted injuring his opponent like that. That's also why referees have the authority to penalize fighters for committing fouls now. But how do they even know what went down? It's simple. After the dust settles and the adrenaline fades, the real detective work begins. These referees gather around the footage like seasoned investigators, dissecting each move with meticulous precision. They're on a mission to find out if those lightning-fast strikes and grappling maneuvers stayed within the boundaries of the predetermined rules. When it comes to intentional fouls, these referees don't mess around. They channel their inner Sherlock Holmes to spot those rule breakers and make the right calls. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of punishments are we talking about here? Depending on the severity of the violation and any special circumstances, the guilty fighters can face suspensions or fines. That'll make their heads spin faster than a knockout punch. But what if there's a heated debate between the two sides? Don't worry, you guys. The case doesn't close just yet. The incident gets thrown under the microscope for further investigation. These officials leave no stone unturned as they unravel the truth behind the chaos. When making these tough choices, it's not just a flip of the coin. There's a whole web of factors to consider. Was it an intentional move or just an accidental slip-up? Did something fishy happen before the rules were broken? How many rounds started before they were supposed to? These questions consume their minds as they balance fairness, sportsmanship, and the integrity of the sport. It's not just about what you're doing in the ring, though, but also what you're wearing. To ensure a fair fight and protect these fighters, there's a specific dress code in the octagon. One of the first things that might catch your eye when watching a UFC fight is that the male fighters aren't wearing shirts. But why is that? Well, folks, it's all about grappling and preventing sneaky tactics. In the heat of the battle, shirts can be grabbed, twisted, or even used to choke an opponent. By going shirtless, fighters ensure a level playing field where strength and technique matter most. Talk about putting it all out there. Of course, that doesn't go for women. Female contestants can wear commission-approved shirts, like a sports bra or a form-fitting top. We all remember the time Ben Henderson was really upset when they decided to ban shorts and flip-flops. That was fun, right? Though I guess if you're trying to avoid losing all your teeth, it's best if you keep the mouthguard on like the MMA rules dictate. Did you know that men also wear groin protectors? I mean, there might be rules preventing that move from happening, but let's be real. You can never be too careful with that area. Because sometimes, fingerless gloves weighing 4 to 6 ounces, mouthguards for those pearly whites, and groin protectors for the fellas should keep male fighters safe. As for the ladies, a sports bra or a snug top with no pockets and exposed zippers will do the trick. Because at the end of the day, it's all about safety, comfort, and looking badass while throwing down. Before the bell rings, fighters must pass a series of medical checks to step foot into the cage. Pre-fight exams evaluate their overall health, and tests for communicable diseases like HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C are a must. Some even require ophthalmologic and neurological clearance. Safety first, folks. During the event, a licensed physician is on standby, ready to jump in if things get too gnarly, which they usually do. After the fight, post-fight medical examinations assess injuries and determine potential suspensions, because it's all about keeping these warriors in one piece. You might think that the fighters can guzzle any energy drink or chug gallons of coffee to get that extra boost. But hold your horses. When it comes to pre-game fuel, fighters need to be very specific about what they consume. Certain drinks are prohibited due to their potential performance-enhancing properties. Imagine downing a banned energy drink and then soaring through the fight with superhuman strength. Well, it's not allowed. And if caught, fighters could face consequences like disqualification or suspension. No shortcuts here, folks. Plus, drinks like Gatorade have too much sodium and sugar, which could result in a fighter cramping up during a fight if they drink too much of it. MMA bouts are all about skill and strategy. But how do those three wise judges determine who's winning the rounds? These guardians of fairness evaluate each round based on effective striking, grappling wizardry, aggression levels, and octagon domination. The 10-point must system is the compass guiding their decisions. In each round, the fighter who impresses the judges the most, showcasing their mastery, will be awarded 10 points. But what about the brave soul on the receiving end? Well, they'll receive 9 points or even fewer depending on the level of domination. Effective striking's like the thunderous crack of lightning in the night sky. Judges gauge the impact of those legal strikes landing on the opponent, with the more significant ones leaving a lasting impression. Knockout punches, crisp jabs, and bone-rattling kicks. These are the golden tickets to winning the judges' hearts. But it's not just about striking. Effective grappling is the yin to striking's yang. The judges keep a keen eye on the artful takedowns, those thrilling submission attempts, the mesmerizing reversals, and the ground and pound control. It's a symphony of skill, where each moves like a brushstroke on the canvas of the octagon. And aggression is a key ingredient. The judges savor those fighters who charge forward, initiating action and refusing to back down. It's like the relentless surge of a charging bull, daring their opponent to blink first. But here's the twist. Effective striking and grappling are the shining stars in the judges' constellation of scoring. While aggression and octagon control are captivating, the judges prioritize the artistry of strikes and grappling maneuvers. They're the true champions in the scoring ring. So, the next time you witness those electrifying rounds, keep an eye on the ebb and flow of strikes, their brilliant ground game, the unyielding aggression, and the battle for octagon supremacy. It's not just what you do in the octagon that counts, but also what you were doing before the fight. That's why the UFC has some pretty intense drug testing policies in place. Come on, just look at how they've even got a partnership with the US Anti-Doping Agency. Before entering the Lion's Den, fighters undergo rigorous medical checks, from overall health evaluations to tests for communicable diseases. They have to pass the ultimate physical exam, but it doesn't end there. Nope. Testing for performance-enhancing drugs is the real goal here. Brock Lesnar was one of the most famous UFC fighters who rose to the top in MMA. But when he made the mistake of testing positive for clomiphene to boost testosterone, it was a mess. He was banned from competing for a year and fined $250,000 due to the incident. The aim is to keep the sport clean, fair, and free from any performance-enhancing shortcuts. And those who get caught face the wrath of suspensions, fines, and a shattered legacy. Because you know what they say, you either play by the rules or pay the price. So from going through mandatory pre- and post-fight drug test screenings to being unable to headbutt and punch each other in the groins, that's all the UFC rules fighters must abide by in the octagon.